Good morning. Thank you for being here. We're excited to host today's media engagement here at Stono Park Elementary School over in West Ashley. I'm joined by the wonderful principal, Kimberly Richards, who's been here and led school turnaround efforts that we described last night, alongside Jackie Haynes, our associate superintendent for the Acceleration Zone. Last month, as you know, we talked a little bit about transformation schools and the work that we're doing in schools to serve students who have historically underperformed, particularly in comparison to their white peers. I'm proud to say that Mrs. Haynes led a lot of the work that we're now implementing in the transformation zone in the acceleration zone, which was one of the first of its kind here in Charleston. The acceleration zone started with 10 schools, and all of those schools have made significant progress, with at least 5 of them achieving at a higher level at last year's school report card than previously in prior years. You'll get a chance to hear from Kimberly Richards, who's led a lot of that work alongside members of her great team in just a few moments, along with Mrs. Haynes. At last night's board meeting, we also talked about continuous improvement plans. Those plans are shared with us from the state, and the challenge that we have is in completing those with sound strategies to meet the needs of learners. And so our Office of Federal Programs and our Office of Accountability have worked alongside Dr. Luke Clamp, our Deputy Superintendent, who is actually here, to ensure that those continuous improvement plans are thoughtfully done, so that we look at student achievement data constantly and make course corrections in order to improve the efforts at our school level. Also, last night we talked a little bit about the Blue Ribbon Committee that was started a few years ago after the closure of Lincoln Middle High School out in Awendaw. That committee has been meeting regularly as we've studied demographic data in our efforts to determine whether a new school in that area is feasible. So we're certainly open to any questions that you might have about that. I'm going to turn it over now to Jackie Haynes to talk a little bit more about the Acceleration Zone and the efforts that she's led alongside some fantastic school leaders and wonderful teachers in that zone to really make a difference for kids. Ms. Haynes?
Thank you, Superintendent Huggins. So I'm Jackie Haynes, the Associate Superintendent for Acceleration Schools, and our main focus is to ensure that we're providing a quality education for students that are in what used to be low-performing schools. As a result of our work focusing on instructional leadership, focusing on leaders, principals, and also our coaches as well as teachers, to ensure that they're receiving a quality education regardless of the zip code where our students live. So for the past 4 years, we have really embarked upon that work and brought in rigorous curriculum, have brought in professional development that really supports teachers and strengthens their instructional delivery, and also worked with our community and parents to hear their voices around what they want in acceleration schools and how to improve those schools. This school has done an amazing job. They have great leadership. They have coaches that have grown tremendously and teachers that have grown as a result of the coaching. So I'm glad to have them talk about acceleration schools. I could go on, but it's really important to hear the practices that they have put in place and the work that they've done.
So I'm going to introduce now Kimberly Richards. She has a great team of folks here with her. I'm going to ask her to introduce them. One of the key levers for improving schools that is an exceptional leader, Mrs. Richards, is just that. And alongside exceptional leaders, they often attract wonderful folks who are focused on kids to work alongside of them in that turnaround effort. And so, Kimberly, if you would come now and talk to us about the work that you've led here along with some members of your great team, we would be grateful.
Thank you, Superintendent Huggins. I am Kimberly Richards, and I am pleased to be the principal here at Stono Park. And alongside me is my wonderful team. We have our literacy coach, Alicia Tackett, kindergarten teacher, Alyssa Flavin, and second grade teacher, Anisha Patterson Calhoun. So we are a part of the Acceleration Schools Network, and we were once, as you heard Ms. Haynes mention, on the state's list of schools that needed improvement, but that is no longer. We have had tremendous growth that we are very proud of. Our work has been intentionally focusing on professional learning communities, extended planning time for our teachers, and our 90-day plan, which is a very focused approach to rapid academic improvement. We have attributed the growth and the abilities to sustain our success to our focus on data. So we are constantly reviewing data. We are constantly talking about how we can tailor instruction to meet students' needs. And then we also make sure that we not only just look at what the data is saying, but track that progress and take a deep dive into what we need to change and tweak. We also have a very strong culture here at Stono Park that we are very proud of. We have a high teacher retention rate. These ladies have been here for years, and that helps us ensure continuity for our students and their families. And speaking of families, we have had families here for generations. So we've had the grandparents, the parents, and now the children as well, and we're very proud of that. That has led us to want to expand our student body, and so we've created a parent ambassador group where we are through them getting the word out about all the incredible things that are happening here at Stono Park. So if you are watching and you're looking for a small school community where your child is going to be celebrated, where they are going to be pushed academically, and where they are just going to be loved on and make sure that they are doing their best and they're given the best school family, then make sure that you contact our school for a school tour and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you.
You can see that exceptional leaders lead with a lot of passion, and so we're really blessed to have Kimberly here in the Charleston County School District. I don't stand before viewers today to suggest that we still don't have a lot of work to do in the Charleston County School District. We still have schools that need improvement, and I think that all of our principals in all of our schools would suggest that until all students are at or above grade level, their jobs aren't done. And so we thank you for your engagement with us today, and we're certainly open to any questions that you might have at this time.
I was hoping to bring up something that you mentioned last night in the press conference, Superintendent Huggins, about saying basically sometimes with these improvement plans and these schools getting the work done, sometimes you can't wait for momentum or for something specific to happen. You have to kind of take action right away. Can you just talk a little bit more about that and how that applies to seeing success in schools like Stono Park?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking it. We in the Charleston County School District can't allow too much time to pass before we determine what challenges we have and how we can fix them. So when we see that children aren't performing commensurate with where we believe they should be and or where they need to be, we have to quickly try to diagnose that and determine how we might be able to remedy that with a strategy or a solution, then assess whether that worked, and if it didn't, retry and try over again. So some of our board members thoughtfully ask questions about 30, 60, 90-day plans. As you know, a quarter is 45 days. So if we wait 60 days to figure out whether something worked, we've already lost a significant portion of the year. So in schools like Stono Park, and I echo Mrs. Richards' plea to the community to come to your neighborhood schools, see what they're offering, because so many great things are happening here. In schools like this, Ms. Richards and her team of instructional coaches and teachers are quickly assessing where students are, determining whether they're achieving where they need to be, and if not, how they can remediate or intervene to try to get students to achieve at higher levels. So the work is urgent. And if we in any way don't have a sense of urgency, we can pretty much be assured that we're not going to meet the needs of children. So I appreciate the sense of urgency with which Ms. Richards and Mrs. Haynes has led the work. Or have led the work in the acceleration zone and specifically here at Stono Park. So thank you for the question.
I want to get a little overview of the capital improvement with the budget and such.
That's a
See if
great
we could
question.
Just get, yeah. Just
I'm going to turn it
some
right over to
background.
somebody else. Mr. Baroi, come right on up here, sir, and do your thing, sir. Yes, you're welcome.
Yes, sir. So last evening, the board approved 2 reallocation efforts. One was in the Phase 4 program that was sweeping up money that was excess from projects that had been completed, moving it toward a stadium addition, and that's a track at the District 4 stadium. The second was in the current sales tax program, where, as we've all seen, with the increase in cost due to inflation, increased material costs, increased labor costs, we've had to plus up projects that were estimated 5 years ago. And so we basically looked at plussing up projects at the tail end of this program to provide them adequate funding to complete them.
And so it was what, 26 million total between those 2 allocations, or was that just for the second one?
I believe it was 26 million for the James B. Edwards project. The total was just a little bit higher than that, I believe.
Gotcha. And just sort of the background of these projects, leading up to now, because I think I read where this is sort of the last you've done this plus up on
previous projects, yes, sir.
phases, and so this goes all how far back does this go?
So this takes us toward the end of the program. We only have one project that hasn't been plussed up yet in that wave 3. The projects are split into 3 groups, overlapping periods of 3 years. And this is wave 3 implementation, the last third of the building program.
Gotcha.
Sir.
We're certainly open to any other questions you might have. No. None today, Robert? That's unlike you.
Next year.
Next year.
Saving them all up.
Could I ask one more?
Absolutely.
About the Awendaw feasibility study for this school. Could you just talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I'm going to have Mr. Broy come right back up and do that. I told you should have stayed here, sir. Come right back up.
Yes, ma'am. What's the specific question?
I was just asking for a little bit of detail on the Awendaw feasibility study. I know that you guys have been through a process of potentially purchasing land and going back and forth about if it's something that y'all are going to consider for Awendaw students.
So we will continue to consider for Awendaw students. Once Lincoln was closed back in 2016, we committed to the community to continue to look at the possibility of building a new school out there. In the time frame since it was closed till now, we did buy property essentially halfway between the old school, Lincoln, and Awendaw High School. It's ideally located to attract students from both directions on Highway 17 and around Highway 17, but we really have to have an ample number of students to make it a viable school. That was the reason Lincoln was closed, is that we couldn't offer the opportunities for enrollment that low. So we want to honor the community and try to look forward toward options. And in fact, the Blue Ribbon Committee really looked at magnet opportunities where we would draw the kids from within the zone, so they would automatically go to the school, but attract students from out of the zone to a program that we might not have in the district or something that's desired. We just aren't there yet with the numbers, and the committee will continue to look at it.
Thank you. And just one follow-up question. I guess could you explain a bit of the benefits of combining schools into a bigger population versus having what used to be Lincoln, which is a smaller population?
Yeah. So the benefits are both from an academic side and also an operations side. The less campuses we have, the more money we can save on utilities, repairs, maintenance, that can be put back into the classroom. So the less number of schools we have, the more money that goes toward actual education. And then from an education perspective, you have to have an ample number of students to be able to offer a class. And the more students you have, the more varying of offers you can make. So that's the even more key than saving money on the operations side, is being able to offer each student the opportunities that they deserve in the classroom. Yep.
Anything else? Well, it's a Christmas miracle. We're finished. It's a holiday miracle. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for being so engaged, and thank you all too.